I'm Alex. Join me with Aria in the latest podcast by Defense Report for sharp, no-nonsense breakdowns of the latest in global defense news, military technology, and strategic developments. And today we're going to cover something that's been bubbling up for a while: Europe's industrial response to the war in Ukraine. Is it enough? Is it fast enough?
Exactly. The conflict has been a brutal wake-up call for industrial warfare. We're seeing NATO nations, Germany and the UK especially, placing these huge orders for next-gen gear, like the RCH-155 howitzer. But the big question we're tackling is whether this focus on really advanced, really expensive platforms is the right move right now.
And that's the heart of our debate today. Does this trajectory, this focus on high-cost, high-tech systems, actually meet the scale required to deter Russia and support Ukraine? Or is it a dangerous miscalculation? I'm going to argue that these complex, high-end programs are the only path forward. It's a necessary strategic investment in long-term technological superiority.
And I'll be taking the counter-argument that the slow pace and, frankly, the tiny quantities of these systems fundamentally fail to meet the urgency of this war. I think the West is prioritizing what's technologically perfect over what's desperately needed in mass and at speed.
Okay. So my position really is founded on the absolute necessity of maintaining a technological edge. I mean, look, the introduction of a platform like the RCH-155, even if it's just in small initial batches, say the 6 systems we expect for Ukraine in 2025, it's still a game changer. It introduces a brand new, highly automated capability.
6 systems, though.
Yes, 6 to start. But this isn't just another howitzer. The RCH-155 has a fully unmanned and autonomous turret. It allows the crew to fire and move almost instantaneously. That dramatically increases survivability, it boosts operational effectiveness. It's a whole different league compared to existing manned systems. And that integration of advanced tech is, for me, the only strategic answer to Russian mass. And we should remember, Ukraine's tactical successes have often hinged on high-end assets. The Turkish TB2 drones, for example, those were crucial for taking out enemy air defenses, for high-value ISR. It wasn't just about cheap commercial drones. This logic extends to the industrial investment too. The UK committing £2.5 billion to replenish munitions, or Kemring Noble in Norway boosting its capacity by, 275%? These are the high-quality foundations for real long-term deterrence.
Rate of 10,000 shells and rockets. 10,000! A lot of that, by the way, is coming from the industrial base of North Korea. So against that, Europe's procurement speed just feels critically mismatched. The data shows it. Deliveries of major European platforms are consistently facing, structural delays of 2 to 4 years.
So the material being ordered today, right now, it's not going to arrive before 2026, maybe even 2028. Those initial 6 RCH-155s you mentioned for next year, they are, with all due respect, numerically irrelevant against the scale of this war. And this high-cost, low-volume mentality is it's operationally incompatible with attrition warfare. Look at the German data. An order for a 30mm Puma ammunition costs nearly €1,000 per shot. That entire very expensive order would last, get this, just under 17 hours of combat at maximum intensity. 17 hours. That right there shows a profound industrial lag. It's peacetime thinking in a wartime reality.
Let's dig into that then. Let's start with the core tension. The pace of the Western DIB response versus this Russian industrial surge. It's true, Russia's production of key systems, tanks, artillery, those Lancet loitering munitions, it has surged. And European governments, I'll grant you, especially Germany, have been seen as hesitant to make those credible, multi-year spending commitments. And that uncertainty, yes, it hinders the DIB from making the massive investments needed.
Exactly. It's a choke point.
It is a choke point, but I think that view slightly misrepresents the shift that has already happened. Germany is the EU's largest economy. It's a critical pillar of NATO's land defense. And they have made dramatic shifts since 2022. If you look at their procurement, land systems went from just 11% of orders pre-2022 to 43% between 2022 and mid-2024. That isn't hesitation. That's a fundamental structural pivot. Yes, the industrial complexity takes time. A 2 to 4 year lag for a brand new, highly complex system is the unavoidable price of getting that qualitative leap. But this is managed strategically. We're focusing on common data standards, deep interoperability, integrating AI and autonomy through things like NATO-standard. These efforts ensure that when the systems arrive, they possess a strategic superiority that can overcome mass. That, to me, justifies the time it takes.
I just, I have to push back on justifying that lag. I really do. Especially when you look at the industrial mismatch on things we need in huge volumes, like 155 millimeter ammunition. While the monetary shift in German orders is there, I see it, the industrial inertia, those persistent 2 to 4 year delays, that is a tactical and strategic killer in a war measured in weeks. You mentioned the UK is investing in an 8-fold increase in 155 millimeter production by 2025. That's a significant commitment. Why? Because they saw the sheer scale of the shortfall. But Germany's commitments, even for standard artillery shells, just seem insufficient compared to the exponential volume that's needed. We're still ordering munitions like a line item, not mobilizing industry for continuous, high-volume production.
Okay, and I'm glad you brought up the Puma ammunition again. You're right, 17 hours of combat capacity is shockingly low if you're measuring it against a continuous grinding attrition fight. But we have to define the role of that specific, high-cost munition. That €1,000 round is likely a very precise, specialized smart round. It's not for spraying a front line. It's for high-precision, low-volume engagements against armored targets where the cost is secondary to the effect. It reflects a doctrine of high-value targeting, not just mass shelling. But your broader point about scale is vital. So let's pivot to that platform quality versus attrition demands. The RCH-155 isn't just a howitzer. It's a mobile, digitized platform that integrates fire with maneuver. And artillery is what makes small drones so lethal, right? The drones find the target, the artillery delivers the strike. So modernizing the artillery platform itself, making it more survivable and precise, is essential.
I'm sorry, I just don't buy that industrial approach for this conflict right now. It ignores the brutal economics of the war we are actually seeing. We know that up to 90% of drones in Ukraine are lost, sometimes 10,000 UAS per month, mostly to electronic warfare. So relying on the slow delivery of extremely expensive newly manufactured systems like the RCH-155, it just feels like a flawed industrial strategy when your enemy prioritizes mass and can rapidly replace high losses. The much more pragmatic response would be to prioritize immediate scale and cheaper, more expendable assets. Mass-produce simple CUAS jammers, millions of basic commercial drones and munitions. That allows Ukraine to saturate the battlefield now, not wait for a handful of complex platforms that could still be taken out by a lucky strike.
But that leads us directly to the credibility of long-term commitments, which you identified as the root of the problem. That uncertainty in government demand.
It is the root problem. Look at Germany's RCH-155 plans. They ordered 80 systems, planned for another 149, but it's against a massive framework of 500 systems. While that offers flexibility, it also signals uncertainty to the manufacturers. If a big national order isn't guaranteed for years to come, a company will hesitate to spend billions expanding factories. And that hesitation is what's fundamentally hindering the capacity buildup Europe so desperately needs.
I agree that industrial confidence is paramount, but I would argue that this framework's flexibility and, crucially, the international cooperation are precisely the long-term signals the industry needs. The fact that the UK and Germany are jointly testing the RCH-155, that the UK is investing in building 155mm barrels in Telford for British, German, and Ukrainian systems, that demonstrates a real commitment to resilient, high-capacity supply chains. This shared development is about signaling sustainable, integrated demand across NATO. By collaborating on critical components, we ensure long-term value and interoperability. And that is the highest form of strategic signal to industry, even if the immediate delivery numbers are limited by the ramp-up.
Compelling argument, and I do acknowledge the importance of integrated supply chains for long-term resilience. I do. But we can't ignore the short-term tactical risk. While you focus on this future integrated battlefield, the present reality is that the gap between Western delivery times and Russia's mobilization pace, it creates a critical vulnerability right now. The technological edge of one RCH-155 just can't offset the deficit of thousands of missing shells per day.
Ultimately, my position is that the long-term vision, investing in these high-end networked systems, integrating AI, expanding specialized munitions manufacturing like Kemmering Noble is doing, is the only viable path to sustainable technological superiority. It's the only way to achieve effective deterrence against the kind of enduring threat Russia presents. We are building the structural resilience for the next decade to make sure the cost of aggression stays prohibitively high.
And while those are necessary steps for the future, I have to conclude that the current focus is fundamentally lacking in industrial scale and operational urgency. That gap, the one between Western delivery timelines stretching into 2026 and beyond, and Russia's immediate industrial output, that creates a profound vulnerability that high-end quality alone cannot fix. We have to scale up cheaper, high-volume production now.
The source material really does show European defense planners facing an almost impossible choice. You either optimize for a long-term technological dominance, or you urgently sacrifice some of that future capability for the immediate mass production you need to win the current attrition fight.
Exactly. And the success of Europe's response is going to rest entirely on whether the scale of commitment being made today truly matches the scope of the industrial threat we're facing. The debate isn't whether to modernize, but whether the pace of that modernization is catastrophically misaligned with the immediacy of the threat.
You've been listening to Defense Report by Alex and Arya, where we analyze the latest in military strategy, global defense, and advanced weaponry.
Subscribe to Defense Reports, your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports. We'll catch you next time.